I wish you could be part of the banters that we have behind the scenes before the show starts because it's usually very funny. Then, before the show comes to start, there's a little bit of a very, I don't want to call it hurry silence, but there's that silence kana kuanga hapo. Yeah, that is how, and the banters are usually very interesting because the question that nimeulizwa tu sahi, one of our producers here, is called Rose. Why did the chicken cross the road?
Why did it cross the road, Mike? Tell us.
Why was it? What was it doing on the road in the first place?
Who sent it on that road, and which road was it crossing? First of all.
Well, anyway, welcome to the program. It's the 9th of July 2025. This is Good Morning Kenya. This is how we start the show. My name is Mike. A lot has happened in the last 24 hours, including the fact that Isiolo governor, that is Abdi Guyo, was saved by the Senate following an impeachment motion that was tabled by the MCAs. Also, Moses Kuria resigned from government, and he said he wants to pursue personal interest. And yeah, that happened yesterday. Remember that he served as Cabinet Secretary for Investment and Trade for 11 months, and also the PS for Public Service, and also as a senior government advisor. So he took a bow yesterday, and that was that. Today I want us to take a look at what is happening in the counties, and I want us to look at power, politics, and accountability when it comes to county governance. I'll be having Ireriwa Mwathi, who is a leadership and governance consultant, David Alulu, who is a political analyst, and also Honorable Wilson Sosion, who is a former nominated MP and former section of NAT. Vivian?
Good morning, Mike, and a very good morning to each and every one of you who is tuned in on the show. This is the proper way for you to start off your morning right here with us as we let you into what has been happening across the country and get to discuss different topics. And today being a Wednesday, it is Women at the Forefront, or as some may say, it is Woman Crush Wednesday.
Yeah.
So we are still in line, and our woman at the forefront today will be none other than Nyasina Kwamboka. Nyasina Kwamboka is an environmental economist and founder of the African Environmental Youth Advisory, and she will be here as our woman at the forefront to speak about period poverty, because she is doing an amazing job for her community, and we will be looking into sustaining her health. When we talk about period poverty, we are talking about lack of access to menstrual hygiene, menstrual products, and as well as sanitation facilities, lack of it. And we will be looking at what are some of the causes that are leading to this, what are some of the areas that are more prone to period poverty, and what do we do, what is our responsibility, each and every one of us, to ensure that no girl is going through the shame of period poverty. You definitely want to stay tuned for that conversation that will be coming up at around 8:30 a.m. Mike?
Indeed, you also can be part of this conversation. Every conversation happening here on Good Morning Kenya. We are at KBC Channel 1 on all our social media platforms. You can also check our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. We take a very short break. Good Morning Kenya continues shortly. welcome back. You're watching The Viewpoint on Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike. Now let's take a look at what is being reported on our local dailies, and we start with the Daily Nation. Death toll hits 31. This is what is captured on the front page of the Daily Nation. Death toll hits 31 aftermath. More Kenyans lose their lives as injuries also mount amid growing violence in the wave of youth-led protests across the country. About economy, protests hit most sectors of the economy hard, disrupting business and travel and keeping workplaces in many towns shut. Fresh boycott call. Opposition politicians urge Kenyans to shun businesses, services and institutions with links to President Ruto and his allies. UN also sounds alarm. High Commissioner for Human Rights voices concern over violent turn of events during Sabasaba demonstrations. That is what is captured on the front page of the Daily Nation. TSC unveils new policy on teacher promotions. The Teachers Service Commission has established a policy for promotion of teachers that provide for their automatic progression within common cadres grades without need for competitive interviews. The policy will apply to 3 categories of teachers, including certificate holders, diploma and bachelor's degree holders. For certificate holders, this is what is commonly referred to as P1. That is what is captured on the front page of the Daily Nation. On the front page of the Star, 140 killed since 2023 over demos. Civil society organizations demand state accountability. This is what is displayed on the front page of the Star newspaper. Nurses threaten to boycott work if their security is not assured. Read that story during protest. Read that story on page 8 of the Star newspaper. Gachagua allies fight terror charges over links to Gen Z demonstrations. That story is told on page 2 on the Star newspaper. 2 Democratic Congress Party officials who are allies of the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua yesterday fought off terror charges leveled against them by the Senate over last week's protest. That story is told in detail on page 2 of the Star newspaper. A continuation of what is captured on the front page regarding the 140 killed since 2023 over demo story. Since 2023, at least 140 Kenyans have been killed during protests. Many while exercising their constitutional right to peaceful assembly. That story is told in detail on page 2 and page 4 and 5 of the Star newspaper. Let's look at what is captured on the front page of the Standard newspaper. Innocent blood. This is what is captured. Innocent blood. A 6-month-old child will grow up fatherless. The man who prayed to raise him gunned down before he could return home. In Kiambu, a 12-year-old Bridget Njoki was shot dead while watching TV in her living room. In Kitengela, a mother spent the night guarding the body of her deceased son. When the gunfire stopped, at least 11 lay dead. In a blood-soaked echo of Sabasaba, Kenya's streets have become execution grounds as Gen Zs marched unarmed for justice. Bullets answered their cries, most fired from behind, striking down those running for safety, but never reaching it. That story is told on page 4 and 5 of the Standard newspaper. There is a display here of those that have lost their lives as captured on this newspaper. Gachagua allies, 35 Gen Z protesters held over Kikuyu court raid. That story is told on page 2 of the Standard newspaper. Two allies of former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and 35 Gen Z protesters will remain in custody until Thursday, that is July 10, following court orders issued at the Kahawa Law Courts. Senior Principal Magistrate Gideon Kiage directed that the suspects be held for 2 more days as the court considers arguments that related charges that are, as the court considers arguments by their lawyers that the proposed terrorism-related charges are unconstitutional, politically driven and legally flawed. That story is told on page 2 of the Standard newspaper. Families mourn those shot dead during Sabasaba demonstrations. That story is told on page 4 and also page 5 of the Standard newspaper. That is what is captured on our local dailies. And now in studio, I'm joined by my guest. On my far right is Honorable Wilson Associon, who is a former nominated MP and former NAT Secretary. Welcome to the program.
Thank you and good morning.
Good morning to you. And also Ireri Wamwathi, who is a leadership and governance consultant. Karibu sana. It's been a minute. Welcome to the program. And also David Alunu, you are not new to Jerusalem. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
good morning.
Good morning to you. David Alunu is also a political analyst. I want to get your sentiment regarding these headlines before we continue. And I will start with you, Honorable Sosion. Death toll hits 31, 140 killed since 2023 over demos. And this, on the Standard, they're talking about the innocent blood. Your take?
My take, it never changes. What we are witnessing in Kenya are not the demonstrations by any definition and by any standard. These are acts of political violence and deliberate criminal actions where you see vandalization of property and threat to life. So by any standards, we do not expect anything normal out of it. Demonstrations are conducted very peaceably as provided by the Constitution. But what we are witnessing is just but violent activities. And so the death toll rising to any figure is not a surprise. And we shouldn't expect much. Even if tomorrow there is another round of activities like we were seeing, it will lead to loss of life, loss of property. We've seen burning of property, burning of supermarkets, raiding of supermarkets, and total loss of property. So for me, there is nothing that has gone on in this country in the standard definition of decent, civilized demonstrations. What we have seen are just but violent action and action with the police.
But there are ways of containing demonstration. Does it have to result to death?
You contain demonstrations which are demonstrations, but you don't contain violence. Violence begets violence. That's a fact. We should tell ourselves the truth as Kenyans. And so let us not pass the buck to the police. And let us not even for a minute stop accusing the police. We should stop as a country from accusing the police. We should know the police is these are Kenyan citizens who are trained to contain lawlessness. And they're not trained to contain lawlessness through preaching. They are trained to contain lawlessness using lethal force.
But we have seen police officers shooting Kenyans at close range, unarmed Kenyans.
Those are, well, of course, there are wrong actions from the side of the police, and that has been taken into account. But that does not justify the type of criminal actions we have been having in the country from the citizens themselves. And we cannot wake up one morning, institute violence across the country, on our property, on our highway, in our country, and then we begin a narrative of trying to blame the police. The police will not come to clap for violent activities. They will come to use lethal force in whichever manner that they so choose. And this is standard practice all over the world. I saw the other day the warning from the police sheriffs in Los Angeles, and they warned the people that you threaten the police, then the relatives should prepare to go and get the body of their relative in a cemetery or in a mortuary, for that matter. The police all over the world, you threaten them, they use force. And so what we have been seeing in the country, really by any standard, is not demonstration. It's not even worth discussing. The country must get back. And I think Parliament should be able to relook at the legislations governing demonstration. We cannot have Article 37 as it is. It's beautiful, it's nice. And Kenyans should enjoy the freedom to peaceably demonstrate and unarmed. But we must have a legislation that gives very strict guidelines and protocols on how to demonstrate, and we should know who is leading the demonstration, from where to where, and what petition are they giving. For all these activities we have seen for the last couple of weeks, we have not seen any petition presented anyway, any petition, because there must be a petition presented so that a demonstration can have meaning. What we have been seeing is attempted political actions on regime change. You don't do that. If you want a change in regime, wait for the ballot box. Go around, persuade Kenyans, talk to Kenyans, sell your issue, and then cause regime change at the ballot. Okay. But you don't use the name of the youth of this country and the problems afflicting the youth in this country, problems of unemployment, economic opportunities that are so limited. You can't use them as an excuse to bring violence in the country, and also to breed violence, to breed hatred, and you call it demonstration.
All right,
Osana.
All right, Mr. Ray, what's your take on these headlines that are being reported today?
Kenya is in tears. Kenya is crying. We have cries all over. We have blood all over. Something should be done to stop this. According to me, irrespective of how this blood has come, there are people with the responsibility of stopping it. It must be stopped. Doesn't matter whether it is from innocent demonstrators. Doesn't matter if it is from goons. There is a government which is in place, and they should be able to stop that. There should be a mechanism. There should be a way. What should happen from a governance point of view is looking at analyzing the problem. We all agree this is a problem. We have a problem. Let us look for a way of solving this problem, because we can't just say these are goods, these are lawless demonstrators, so we should leave them to die like that. We should maybe use the why analysis way of solving the problem. Why we have a problem? Why is it there? Why did it occur? By the time we reach the point why, we should be having a solution. So we should all come together, led by the government, and ensure that this problem is stopped. This problem doesn't occur anymore, because at the end of the day, we have a Kenya to protect. The Kenya we are in, if it is messed up, if Kenya is not there, we will go there way our neighbors have gone, we don't want to reach there. And the people entrusted with the responsibility of changing this, nobody else, not the opposition, not the common mwananchi, but the government. We have seen properties being damaged. For people who are investors, who are employers, we are talking of unemployment. That is one of the reasons why we are in this state, because the youth are desperate, they are hopeless, they don't have a tomorrow.
But does that justify them going, for those who go destroying properties? And
No, it doesn't. But my point is, this we have destroyed even the few employers who are there. I'm talking of like Nice City in Kirinyaga. It has employed a number, thousands. I'm talking of Magunas. It has employed thousands. When it goes down, the unemployment we were talking of is increasing. This does, the unemployment or the problems in the society do not warrant lawlessness. But with this kind of problems, how do we stop maybe those who are infiltrating, those who are coming and joining the innocent demonstrators? How do we stop them from coming in and maybe causing this kind of problems? The people entrusted with the responsibility of changing this is none other than the government. And I'm sure they have the mechanism. They have the mechanism. They are not only trained to deal with innocent people, they are also trained to deal with those lawlessness people. And one way of solving that is not bringing in other goods to fight other goods. Because we have seen it in towns, bringing in people. We have trained police officers who are more than enough to deal with this lawlessness. When you bring goods to stop other goods, what is the result? The result is what we are seeing. So my point, my take is, the people entrusted in the responsibility of ensuring that we have a good Kenya, peaceful Kenya, like you have been enjoying, is the government.
All right. Alulu, I want you to give your sentiments on this, and also, if whatever Iredi is proposing, it's gravitating towards dialogue, how do we approach that aspect of dialogue?
Thank you. You know, sometimes the government finds itself in a very difficult position. Because, for starters, we have everybody in the beautiful nation called Kenya who wants to claim they are right and the other one is wrong. But echoing what Ireri says, two wrongs never make right. There comes a time when we need to come and have this sober agreement. Tell ourselves we have found ourselves in a very complicated situation. Our president once said that if you found yourself in a hole, you don't continue digging the hole. You stop and then find a way of getting out of that hole. So what has been going on, actually, like Mheshimiwa Sosion says, we can never call it protests. We can't call it demonstrations. We should find another term for that, because constitutionally, demonstration and picketing should be an assembly of people who are marching from a specific place to a specific destination to give their petitions to government. For example, if you are talking of the high cost of living, then you should know that we want to take our petition to maybe the Ministry of Treasury, or we want to take it to the office of the President or to the National Assembly. So 1,000 people are going to converge at this particular point, and then we march together, go give our petitions, and then we are done. We do what we cut our placards and you're done. But then when we have scenarios that we've been witnessing since the month of June, to what happened most recently on Sabasaba, then you wouldn't want to call that demonstration. But then you see a parent who has lost a child, whether their children were right or wrong, they'll tell you, my child was just innocent, he was moving around the street and then he was hit and all these kind of things. And so let there be an amicable way of solving this. And if this must be solved, then, like I said, both sides should have a reasoning tone. For example, those who are pushing youth into the streets should know that you can never solve a problem by making it worse. You can only solve a problem by now coming to the reasoning table and say, these are our grievances. We want them solved. And then let's talk about it. The government on the other side also sit and say, we know that these are our people, this is our country, and we must save the country. And so let's have this consensus and talk. But now if we have a situation where everything is being done by politicians whose intention is to have Ruto out of office. Now every time you talk to them and ask them what is the solution, they tell you Ruto must go. But then, you know, Ruto is in the office courtesy of some people who voted for him. So much as there are people who don't like his administration, but there are people who like his administration who voted for him. And you can never wish away that support base that gave him that mandate to be in the office. And so by that, I think there is now a need for everybody to cool their tempers. We should agree as a country that we need to safeguard the integrity and sovereignty of our country by knowing that in Africa, we are one of the most respected nations. And for that reason, we should not play around with that grace that God has given us by wanting to try how people did at Tahrir Square, how people did in Khartoum, how people did somewhere else. We should agree that we want to set a good example, a good precedence. Yes, we have challenges, but now can we find a way of fixing these challenges? So these numbers must stop. We must have this come to an end, but it can only end when everybody agrees that we need to put this to an end. But when you have youth who are going to attack police, throwing stones at police, trying to grab guns from the police, honestly, you don't expect the police to massage you when you attack them. They will hit back, and one of the things they will do is to defend themselves. And so I think it is about time everybody, the family, from home, parents should talk to their children, the church, the religious organizations, media houses, everybody should play a role by encouraging everybody to tone down and embrace reconciliation and have this consensus where we have a direction of making Kenya work, because Kenya is a great country. We cannot take it to the dogs.
Yes, and indeed on that note, let's take a breather. We'll be right back, and the conversation of the day is about power politics and accountability in county governance. Stay with us. That is interesting. Yeah, indeed. Well, welcome back. This is The Viewpoint right here on Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike Megwe. I wanted to take a look at the governance at the county level, looking at power, politics, and accountability in county governance. Now, since the 2010 constitution was promulgated, over 10 governors have faced impeachment motions, and some of them have not survived, with the recent case being that of Kawera Mwangaza. So what is fueling all these impeachment motions? What are the broader challenges that are fueling all this? I want to start on that note with Mwalimu Wilson, so what do you think has been fueling all this, and are there interlinking issues that can be said are common across board?
Yeah, whereas most of these impeachments are politically motivated, of course, indeed, there are real issues to do with serious, grievous gaps in governance that even angels would weep with what is happening at the counties. That's a fact for sure. And the Constitution opens a window of terminating leadership of such persons via impeachment. And I am a firm believer of impeachment. Let it proceed any one time. Impeachment process should be made far much easier than what it is at the moment. Whereas again, it should be legal and constitutional, simple to understand, easy to execute, because I think when devolution was done, was implemented 15 years ago, it was meant to take away resources and centralized management system of development of the country and vest it in the people at the counties where they live. But it is not with the people. It is with a clique, a brutal group of class that is very impervious. It's difficult to penetrate. And we will lose the whole plot of accelerating development, poverty reduction, and opening up every part of Kenya if we don't address the challenges facing devolution. And I think it is time the country audits how devolution has worked over the years, the oversight mechanisms. I think Senate should have been given more powers to really oversight counties more effectively than it is, because we have a Senate whose primary role is to oversee operations of devolution and county government, but it's not given the requisite instrument, resources to conduct oversight and many things. There are many measures that were left hanging, and now we see senators angling to be governors, which should be the other way around, that governors eventually grow to be senators and presidents eventually. But so 15 years down the line, devolution may not have worked, has not worked very effectively. At the very beginning, initial stages in 2013, it was very exciting. And the vision, the policy, the legislative framework looks good. The idea is good, it's big and grand. But how do we make it work? And maybe we gave the counties too much functions that it cannot absorb with its own resources. And we made counties look like employment bureaus, so that much of the money goes to recurrent rather than being directed towards development. There are functions that should even have been left with the national government. When you talk of healthcare staff, the healthcare staff should have remained within the nationalized HR framework, the way teachers remained within the national framework. The same case with ECD teachers, so that then the resources, because our economy cannot sustain a huge payroll at the county. We should have debated that the payroll for certain critical ministries, especially where numbers are high, should have remained centralized and managed at the central government. But the operations of development should have been fully devolved and be financed. And maybe that is why we need to audit devolution to see to what extent did we assign it function that it was unable to manage. What can we claw back to national, and what can counties do, so that there is a balance. There is a balance, and devolution should be seen to be functionally delivering. Why is it that we see more projects and programs with CDF, for example, as a fund, but we don't see much with the county funds and county programs. CDF is thinner. It doesn't have a payroll to manage, save for a few people, not more than 5, but all the money goes to development. Maybe that is what we needed to have looked at, because if the economy is not spurred at the county level, then you can never create jobs. You don't create jobs by using government allocation to pay people. You create jobs by triggering production and meaningful production sectors within that county, because every county has got unique economic activities that speaks actually to the bottom up, which is broad-based and can accommodate everyone. So unless we trigger those programs and those activities and trigger the production, strengthen the value chain, strengthen manufacturing at that level, then we are not going to talk of creating jobs through the payroll. So there's a lot of homework. There's need to review. There is need for economic experts and legal experts and political experts to get back to the table and honestly do a fresh audit of devolution. And in fact, this is the right time to do it prior to 2027, ahead of the election. So that part of the agenda of elections in 2027 will be Kenyans thinking afresh about their devolution and leadership at the elections.
Mr. Ireri, do you see most of these impeachments as matters of political machinations, or just there are other underlying issues, or the issues that raised there are genuine?
Thank you for the question. I think as far as I'm concerned, we are supposed to divorce political problems with governance problems. When the Constitution, the 2010 Constitution, brought in the issue of impeachment, and I totally agree with Mheshimiwa that impeachment should be there, but it was put in the Constitution to curb bad governance issues, not to solve political problems. I think most of the impeachments that we have seen since the devolution, I think over 90% of them are politically instigated, but not how they were supposed to be. The first governor to be impeached was my own governor, Governor Wambora. He impeached at the county level and also by the Senate. Nevertheless, he served his 2 terms. But if you go, it's just the other day I was going deeply into it. I totally agree. It was not as a result of the governance issues, but it was only political. All through, including the recent one of Israel, including that one we saw of Deputy President. Personally, I think it was more political than the performance issues. So it's upon us to look at this issue of impeachment. How do we get value from it? How do we, how does Mwananchi benefit from it, just as it was designed to? Let it not be used to solve political problems. Because just like devolution was came in, it came to devolve resources down to Mwananchi. We have seen loads in places where they were not during the when the resources were centralized at the national government. We have seen services in all corners of the republic. That's why I keep on saying, and I've said in this station before, that we have one of the best constitutions in the republic. We should make use of it, because this constitution, the devolution part is supposed to ensure that Kenya is uniform. There is equity in distribution of the national cake. Unfortunately, we devolved resources and also devolved other bad things like corruption. It is upon us to sieve what we devolve. We devolve the good things, and then the bad ones, we throw them away. As a result of this, why now we are seeing impeachment coming as a result of hatred. We have somebody who was competing with the governor. So because he has defeated me, I'll have to retreat and come with the new mechanism. And the only avenue which is there is impeachment. We have seen that I'm not happy with the way the governor is running the county, just because I'm seeing as if 5 years are way too long. I want something to happen. I mean, I would like a governor maybe who is soft, who can be manipulated. So I would like maybe the governor to pick the leadership, just because he's somebody we can control. I would like a governor who can maybe give me some feathers here and there. Those are the things which are causing most of the impeachment that we are seeing. Actually, as I started by saying, 90% as a result of this. It's upon the leadership of the country to be able to see how we manage these impeachment issues.
All right. Alulu, is it a case of, do you agree it's a case of power play and politics that is majorly driving these impeachments?
Well, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think the problem we have in Kenya, we have politicized everything. You know, Kenya being a political country, just like Ireri is saying, you realize that majority of activities going on in our country is politically instigated.
Yes.
You'd realize that even the demonstrations that are going on, because now at the national level we are having a challenge that finding a way of impeaching a president is a challenge. So let's mess the country with demonstrations and everything else. But you follow it is politically motivated. The impeachments we see in county governments, 90, if not 95%, it might not be scientific, but you realize that that percentage would be of people who don't like governor so and so we want to mess the time period of this fellow so that by the time we come to the next election, they have nothing to show. And by that, we are messing the entire intention of having the devolution. The motive was to have development devolved so that people at the local level get access to this development agenda. But unfortunately, it became a devolution of corruption, devolution of politics, devolution of bad manners and every other thing. So everybody is trying to do things that would benefit them, which now becomes a mess. I think there is a need for assessment to evaluate the performance of devolution. I think there need to be some sort of legislation to check that there should be, after some period of time, we check what is the progress, which are areas we need to fix and make right. Because if we leave it the way it is going right now, it will end up being again another area of some kingdomship where people feel like I own this. It is me who decides. If not me, nobody else. And then the real meaning of devolution will disappear, will vanish into a thin air. So there need to be some sort of legislation. There need to be maybe mid-term assessment. We should have a period where we sit down and say after 5-10 years, let's check what are the challenges. For example, what can we do to curb these time-to-time impeachments? Like what happened to Kawira Mwangaza. Honestly, looking at that history of Kawira Mwangaza, I feel sorry for some governors. You know, there are governors who are too scared to do anything, because if you do it,
somebody is watching, they'll take you to Senate for impeachment, and then you need to prepare money to bribe people to do this and that to save your image and to save your skin from the damage. So if you asked me, I think there need to be decorum in a manner at which we are managing the impeachments. For example, could we find a way of removing this impeachment from the county assembly? Because most of the people at the county assembly are the people who are easily manipulated. You know, I'm mad at Tireri, so I'll go get some few MCAs and tell them, let's send this man home. Let there be decorum. If we are going to conduct impeachment, what should be the procedure? Like, for example, right now, I just used the example of president. You know, yes, the constitution says the president can be impeached. But now, how do you wake up to impeach a president? You know, there is a procedure, there is all these logistics you have to put in place in order to manage to impeach a president. The same thing should happen at the county level. If there is going to be discipline, then there should be decorum, there should be order, and then respect for this office as well.
You're saying there should be a legislation removing that power from the county assembly. But does it really solve the problem, or it just transfers it to another entity?
It would solve a problem to some extent, because now you see, it means, for example, let's say this power has been given to the Senate, where the only thing we need from the county assembly is a petition. Come and petition the Senate and say, the way Governor Sossion is behaving, we don't like that. The accounts are A, B, C, D. Let the Senate first do what they would call investigation. Let the Senate investigate and check, are these grounds sufficient enough to impeach a governor? If that be the case, then let's now proceed with the hearing, invite the governor, let governor come and express themselves. Once they have gone through all those stages, now you can come and debate whether it is impeaching or not impeaching. But now where we are today, and I love using the example of Meru County, of Kawira Mwangaza, of what was happening. They are finishing this impeachment and another is already being drafted. Even before the Senate approves or rejects, they're already discussing another impeachment. Meaning the target is we must get this person out of office by all means. Whether they are right or wrong, we just need to get them off, which is a bad precedence being set to control the governors, and that makes it even difficult for them to implement the mandate. Because, you see, when somebody campaigns, I have vied for a political office. When you go to the grassroots to campaign, you always have an agenda. You have something in mind you want to do for your constituents. And so once people entrust you with that responsibility, the next thing you want to ensure is to make sure that the things you promised people are the very things that you are doing. But then the governors would always have this problem that I campaign, I give you my manifesto, but the moment I come into office, that manifesto should be pushed away, and then now sit with other people and tell them, you know what, this is what I think we need to do, which becomes a big problem. So the impeachment mandate should be moved from the MCAs to the Senate. MCAs should only petition Senate, Senate investigates, and then find sufficient grounds to impeach a governor.
Will that enhance the kind of issues raised? Will it do away with the political aspect of impeachment and help in dealing with real issues?
You know, even if there are political reasons, I think we've set a precedent here in Kenya that the process of impeachment should take into account the grounds for impeachment. And the ultimate decision to impeach lies with the Senate constitutionally. And the Senate becomes a trial chamber. And all parties are listened to. I think we've set that precedent. And we have seen with time the Senate maturing in the manner in which it's conducting impeachment, and is very thorough in interrogating the grounds for impeachment, whereas still we don't rule out the political quote-unquote interests. Like, of course, what happened with Waitetu was politically motivated. What happened with Song, and you condemn somebody permanently and forever. I think we should strengthen safeguards of against weaponization of impeachment so that impeachment process is not abused. And the aspect of public participation being strengthened is a key thing. That the MCAs, you cannot remove the MCAs because at the end of the day, they've got the mandate to oversight governors at that level. And they've got mandate to represent the people at the ward level. And maybe the most important thing that we may need to do is to get down and strengthen public participation upon passage of such a bill at the Senate, or even before tabling at the Senate. There is need for the MCAs to conduct empirically proved public participation forums at their ward level and before it is passed at the Senate, at the county assembly, so that whatever is being debated at the assembly has got extensive input of the people, and people are given clear civic education on what is being done, so that then we avoid the ambiguities of political interest coming in. If it is about misappropriation of funds in a given project or program, it should be clear. It should even be confirmed by the people who are affected by the impeachment. Let's not take impeachment lightly. You are impeaching a person who was elected through universal suffrage by the people. And we have seen the potentiality of that process being abused. I ran for a governor, and Ireri here is my deputy governor. Within a very short time, there is a fishing expedition of judges, so that I'm kicked out, and he assumes the office directly. Maybe he did little or nothing at all. He was only my running mate. That is, it's not right. That's undermining the sovereignty and the decision of the people. And that is why I insist very strongly there must be safeguards against weaponization of impeachment. And the impeachment process must be strengthened. It should be entrenched with the people. What is wrong with having clear, open public participation with the people? And when we talk of public participation in this country, there are a lot of lacunas in the Constitution. There is no law that guides public participation. And if such a law does exist, it would be used by the elected representatives, the MCAs, the MPs, and the senators, because it will guide on how it is done. And there is no law on referendum. Somebody calls for a referendum, but we don't have a law that guides on referendum. And Kenyans can do even up to five referendums in a period of 5 years, if that was guided. Because when there are issues that needs public input, it can be put on a referendum, and people can walk to the nearest polling station, cast a vote, and take a decision. So some of those things need to be cured within the Constitution, just like the demonstration. You have a very strong clause in Article 37, but we don't have an enabling legislation. So some provisions of the Constitution needs to be properly implemented through legislation, and the Senate as well. Probably before taking a vote, it's not enough to sit at the chambers and listen. It would also be important to conduct some form of public participation also on that particular. Yes, the senators, they must conduct some form of public participation. Some on the MCAs, listen to them. And there must be a professional, thorough process, so that then by the time you take a vote to impeach a person, it will, even everybody will know this one. You know, our governance system in terms of public participation was such that systems drive themselves. And the decisions are products of processes. They are not products of whims of individuals. And weaponization of such provisions for selfish aggrandizement and selfish interest. So I think there's a lot that needs to be done.
Yes.
The aspect of public participation needs to be strengthened, both at the county assembly and at the Senate. Even if you want to impeach a president, you don't just wake up and say, okay, I'm impeaching a president, I'm impeaching a senator. There must be sufficient grounds that are convincing before the public, and grounds that provide adequate data to the Senate or to the National Assembly to debate and prove that truly person X qualifies for impeachment, alongside thorough public participation. Why thorough, empirical, scientific public participation? Because these persons are elected through universal suffrage by the people. It's important to control that.
Ireri, do you think whatever impeachments have been there have really gone into the root cause of the problem that they allege is facing various counties, especially in counties that have faced impeachments?
My answer is a clear no, simply because we have seen in some cases where we had clear issues of misconduct of some governors, and they come out clean. In others, there are so many gray areas in the accusations, but they go home. So, to me, we have not seen the kind of impeachment processes going the way they should. Maybe I agree we should have proper public participation so that we are sure that these people gave this governor or this person the votes to be in this seat are really convinced that it should be out. I think we should formulate, we should come up with a law where even other government institutions should be able to come in. For example, if it's a misappropriation of funds, how does the office of the Auditor General say in respect to this?
Hold that thought. Let's take a very short break. We will come back to continue on that, even as we continue on talking about the aspect of financial dependency of county assemblies on governors. Does it create a power imbalance? We're coming back to that in just a bit. Stay with us.
Usemaji wa uongo ni jambo ambalo limepigwa vita katika Uislamu, ila kuna mambo ambayo yanaweza kupelekea kuweza kuficha ukweli.
Maisha yake Nabii Ibrahim alilazimika kuficha ukweli mara kadhaa kutokana na sababu tofauti, zikiwemo pale Nabii Ibrahim alipoficha ukweli baada ya kuvunja masanamu yote yaliyokuwa yakiabudiwa.
Kwa hivyo hili ni jambo ambalo kwamba kila Muislamu lazima afahamu malengo mahsusi aliyoletewa hapa duniani, kuwa si lingine isipokuwa ni kumwabudu Mola wake.
Ni mwaliko wa kuishi kwa unyenyekevu, matumaini na moyo wa shukrani kila siku, kila saa, kila pumzi. La ilaha illallah.
And the conversation continues right here on The Viewpoint. You're watching Good Morning Kenya. Mr. Ireri, before we went on a break, we were talking about the aspect of impeachment being superficial.
Yes,
You may.
yes. What I meant is, we should have other bodies coming in to come and really see to it that this process is as what it takes, or as the weight that it takes. That's why I was, before we went, I was talking of maybe the Office of the Auditor General.
Yes.
If it is a case of misappropriation of funds, what does the Office of the Auditor General say? Just like we do in court, let it be brought in as an evidence that the Office of the Auditor General says ABCD regarding this issue. There's corruption. We can bring even other bodies which are even outside non-governmental to come in and bring, to go and check whether really these allegations, are they really true? So that when this governor is going home, it should be beyond reasonable doubt that the people who put him in this office are really convinced that he should go. So we should widen our net. Let it not be 100% left to politicians, from the MCAs to the Senate, or through. Let it include other bodies, so that we are sure that this person who was given the mandate by the people is really worthy being there, or is worthy being out. This would mean the governor also, as he works, he doesn't have to work at the mercy of a few politician. He doesn't have to work at the mercy of the MCAs, so that if the MCAs want this and this, the governor has to abide, so that as he stays in office is safe. If the governor ought to be in the office, he has to be okay with the senator, so that you act as an ambassador to the Senate House for him. It should not be like that, because when you ask him for this seat, or when you go to the people to tell them that I want to be a governor, you have a vision for your county. You have a roadmap of where you'd like to take the county that you are. But now, if you are held hostage by other issues, you may not be able to achieve the best that you intended to. And the only way, because the MCAs have the responsibility.
Yes.
As they do know that they are not the final decision makers. There are other bodies. There will be penalties for. If you bring in because this process is expensive, it will cost the Republic some money.
Yes.
Even this impeachment process. This time these MCAs are there to impeach a governor. They should be debating other development issues. They are paid by the taxpayer. So if they have just brought anything that is doesn't hold water, there should be repercussions for this, so that they know that as we do this, it can also boomerang on us. It can come back to hunt us, so that at least we streamline the process. Or we should also look at the wider picture of Kenya being a political nation for the 5 years. We do an election today, tomorrow we are in politics. This is a byproduct of the Kenya we have. Because at this time, we should be going on in our business, looking at how we develop our nation. But how is it today? It's like the elections are next month. So this kind of politics all through is what cascades down to the county, such that even the governor is still a political. We are in a political. We want him out for other benefits. Let us look outside the box and see how we can think of development after the election at the county level, at the national level, and I can tell you, Kenya will be far away ahead.
All right, Alulu, based on what he's saying, does that mirror the kind of governance at the national level and whatever, even looking at the process of impeachment, will it enhance accountability?
Well, I think the impeachment process instills fear in leaders instead of enhancing governance and accountability. So, like what you've said, what is going on with the county governments? The county governments are underperforming today because, number one, governors must be very careful not to offend MCAs. So instead of serving the purpose, they are trying to maintain a good relationship, the rapport between them and the and the MCA, so that I should keep my bread for 5 years. Does it mirror accountability at the national level? You'd see, borrowing from what you already just said, is that majority of Kenyan politicians have mastered the art of using, weaponizing these tools to scare those in office. For example, right now, I can tell you without fear of contradiction, if you follow the demonstrations that have been going on since 2023 to this very day, you'll find a hand of some politicians who did not make it to the final end in 2022, and they feel we must destabilize the government so that we have something to use against the government in the next election. So every time somebody wakes up and they are thinking on how to destabilize the other person who has responsibility to serve, eventually we are messing up the governance of our country, because the leader is now not concentrating on how to perform, but rather on what is my enemy or my opponent thinking against me, and what are the weapons they are planning to use to attack me. So in the long run, we failed to deliver the promise. And yet, after elections, what we need to be having in our country is every leader endeavoring to deliver to the promise they made. That you said we shall have a free education. Can we see the education? You said we shall have milk for ECD children. Let's see that. But then, the moment elections are done, borrowing the word from President Ruto's Nikiweka Biblia chini. The moment the man puts the Biblia chini, the guys start hunting him, and you lose focus. So accountability will never be there, because number one, now to maintain your office in Kenya right now, you must have a lot of money to keep bribing some fellows to cover you. If you don't give them, your opponent will give them money, they will put you down. And using the best example, what Mheshimiwa Sossion said, we saw what happened to Waititu of Kiambu. We saw what happened to Mike Sonko of Nairobi. And the kind of things, you know, people make their deals here and there. You hear the leaders have been taken to someone on a retreat. Before you know it, impeachment has been conducted. Before you know it, the Senate throws you out. And there is no room for you to even make amends for it. And so there need to be discipline. I think, yes, we have a very good constitution, but there is also a lot of work that needs to be put in place to help safeguard some of these institutions, because everybody speaks today, they tell you the law says so, the constitution guarantees this, even the demonstration. Everybody is telling you the constitution guarantees us freedom of demonstration and everything else. They go do whatever they are doing, they say we are peaceful. They steal people's things, they say we are peaceful. But then we need to have legislation. I think the parliament should raise to occasion and try to figure out on how to improve on some of the issues that are glaring in our constitution that are actually risking to sink our country. Because much as we have best and progressing constitution in Kenya, but still there are some areas you look at it and you realize that those areas are so sensitive that if we don't take care of them, they might end up sinking the country. So the constitution, as good as it is, legislation should be improved.
Yeah. We borrow from the fact that constitution is a living document. It's not static. Immediately it was promulgated in 2010. After the implementation, we should be able to go see what should be improved. And not all of them should be improved through referendum. There are parliamentary changes can be made to ensure that it's living. We are making it better. Even in a house, you build a very nice house, but tomorrow you see this need to be here, this need to be here. That is the way the constitution should be.
All right. Even as you come in on that point, in all this, who should the governor remain loyal to? Is it the people who elected him, the county assembly, or the powers that be?
Yeah, before I answer that question, yes, there's the aspect of the deep understanding of the Constitution, and there is a letter and spirit of the Constitution. The question is, did Kenyans internalize the spirit of the Constitution? If we don't internalize the spirit of the Constitution, we will never appreciate the Constitution and will never even comply with it. I think there should have been mechanism of periodic civic education and evaluation of the Constitution in terms of how Kenyans understand and how to make Kenyans understand it better.
Whose responsibility is that?
That's the responsibility of the state, because you cannot grow a democracy without elevating the awareness of the people. So the civic education aspect should have been a continuous program. It should be done within the existing governance infrastructure. That should be done, and there must be mechanisms of conducting civic education, not only on the Constitution, but on very many issues. Two, when you are elected as a governor, you are elected on a manifesto. You cannot deviate from that manifesto and begin introducing other pillars. You must work on that pillar. Like the president has been elected on 5 pillars: agriculture, MSME, ICT, housing, UHC. Those are key pillars. And they will be evaluated on the same. And I think we should develop a mechanism of mandatory midterm review for both the governor and the president. See how far they've gone with what they have agreed and with what they promised the people in terms of their manifesto, so that then a governor is not held hostage by other interests. And that brings me straight to the question, who should the governor be loyal to? The governor should be loyal to the people who approved this manifesto. And he should be loyal to the manifesto that he promised the people. Stick to the manifesto. If that manifesto is going to get you out of your office, so be it, because that is what you promised. All these positions of president and governor are not rights. They are privileges given to you by the people based on what you promised them. And by the time you are elected on a manifesto, it means the key pillars that you are selling are very current with the people, very relevant. They appeal to the people. If you do them, it will change them. People don't vote for the sake of voting. They vote because they've seen the issues, what you are presenting before them. So I don't think we have been, as a country, we have been politically strict in auditing manifestos. Even in this country, for presidents, was Jomo Kenyatta elected in the subsequent elections after independence on any manifesto? No, there was no manifesto. Was Moi elected on any manifesto? No, it was just political stability for development. That's a general statement, very opaque and very vague. When we unanimously elected Kibaki in 2002, was it on any manifesto? No, it was on it was on the strong desire to unseat Kanu from power. But for us teachers, we were able to negotiate and push an agenda of free education. That became the most significant thing that was delivered by Kibaki. But he was not elected on any manifesto. Neither was he elected on any manifesto in 2007. The same case to Uhuru. There was no serious manifesto in 2013 and 2017. I think in 2022, President William Ruto has been elected on a solid manifesto that was generated through public participation structures across the country. And if we go down to governors and look at the 47 counties, some have manifestos, some don't have. And I think it is time governors are properly, and leaders are elected strictly on a manifesto that is realistic, that is feasible, that is workable, and that will be able to, should be able to do midterm reviews on those programs. And as you head to the main election, the main agenda will be the performance of the governor on the basis of what he promised. And if the people can be convinced that truly this governor has delivered what he promised, that is what will form the basis for re-election, but not political sabotage, having some loose money somewhere to pay goons. When a governor is attending an event, there are so many boys, mean-looking boys, who are ready to deal with anybody. We don't need those kind of things. And I think in this constitutional dispensation, we need to have more decent, issue-based politics.
All right. Ireri, do you think that the fact that county assemblies have this dependency on governors, does that, when it comes to finance, does that create power imbalance?
In a big way, simply because the county government, the constitution guarantees 48 governments, one national government and 47 county governments. The county government should be independent, should perform its duties in independent way, according to the manifesto, but relying on the constitution, not depending or looking back at the national government, what they will do and what they will not do. If there is a guarantee of the resources should go in there, it should not be an issue of begging or sweet talking. The national government so that the resources can come. It should be a guaranteed issue, so that we leave the governors or the county government in a manner that they are open to generate even their own revenue. I'm yet to see a county government which is generating enough revenue even to learn without relying on the national government. Yet they have been given the mandate to go in and see even the kind of endowment that they have, the kind of resources which are there. My own county, Embu, is rich, filthy rich with minerals which were discovered way back in 1926 by the colonial government. To date, Embu has not benefited from that. The belt between Bere, Zaraka, and Kitui is rich in copper, is rich in graphite, is rich in cotton. But this is the work of the county government to go and see we are literally endowed with this kind of resources. How do we make use of them and become rich? Other countries, God gave each and everybody, including Mandela, which is blind. There is a unique resource that they have that can benefit them in a big way. It should not only, we are yet to see county governments making use of this. We are yet to see county governments developing resource generating activities which can put them independent. 15 years down the line after, I think it's an issue that we should give the county governments independence and let them use whatever is given to them by the national government as a seed to maybe look at what else they can generate their resources from the riches that they have been given by God. If this happens, the county government will be independent. They will not only rely on the resources they are begging from the national government. I'm lucky to have worked with the old regime of the councillors, where we had Cap 265 of the where the councils were being controlled from the Minister of local government. We saw a county like Narok because of the tourism. They were rich. When we were going to Mombasa via buses, they were flying their councillors because they were feeling rich because of the tourism in Mara. What Narok should improve that and make resources from that. What is Uasin and Dodi? What is Kiambu and Dodi? What is my Embu and Dodi? If we go that direction, we will see good results from these 47 governments. Bringing in, I'm looking at a time that we will see even the county governments, because they are the owners of the land. They are the owners of the resources we have. I'm looking at a time that we will see the national government, even the county government, supporting the national government, which is possible with good governance.
We have 5 minutes, and I want us to talk about the way forward. Let me start with you, Alulu. What should be the way forward?
The way forward, since we are finishing and we are in conclusion, let me start from where we began. The way forward, let there be consensus in our country, let there be respect for rule of law, and also at the county government, let there be some sort of decorum and discipline, because what is happening today in our country, we have a situation where county leadership feels threatened because of that fear of what will happen next. Nobody knows how tomorrow would be. And so if somebody would ask, I would say, let there be respect, fear, and adherence to the rule of law in this country, because I think what is missing Kenya today, and I'm sorry to say this, but I feel like our constitution, much as it's good, but it is messing us a big time, because everybody who wants to hurt you will hurt you in the name of the constitution. They say the constitution says, the constitution has given us this right, the constitution this, the constitution that. So we need to, we had a story, or a picture of the former government of Pombe Magufuli in Tanzania, where politicking after election was something that was very tight. Politicians were not allowed to go making noise everywhere until such a period of time. I think there is also a need for us as a country to re-strategize, to think on how we are going to manage our politics. Because now we are in a country where everybody is thinking on how, at the moment we finish election, I vied for MP Hamisi constituency last election, and after election, the next thing I should be thinking is, what am I going to do to cripple the person who won the election, instead of giving them an opportunity to serve, so that if they fail, I'll have something to say, and if they make it, I'll be proud. My constituency has won. We had an argument with somebody the other day saying, why is the President Ruto implementing projects of Uhuru? The question is, Uhuru did not have his projects. The projects are for the government of Kenya. And everybody that comes after Ruto, I'm expecting whoever comes in the office should finish what President Ruto shouldn't have finished. The same applies to the county governments. But today, go to my county, Vihiga, you realize there are projects that started with the former governor, Moses Akaranga, which were abandoned when Otichilo came into office. And the next one who will come will abandon this one. Then we have a lot of stalled projects worth of billions, and nobody will do anything about it. So I think there should be that adherence to the law. There should be discipline. And then, like I said, let's revisit our constitution and make sure that areas that needs fixing, they get fixed and do not wait for crisis. Because the problem we have in Kenya, we only talk about constitution when there is crisis. Right now that there has been riots and goonism and everything else. Now everybody is talking about we need to revisit chapter 37, we need to do this and set some legislation. You realize that we are waiting for when the rain starts beating us, is when we are looking for an umbrella. But then we need to have a shelter and be safe at all times.
All right. Ireri.
Thank you. Also starting from where we started, the country as a problem, we agree. We should implement a good problem solution mechanism. And if we go that way, even my advice to the government, I'm not qualified to do so, but I'm sure we will find out that not all problems should be solved with a gun. There are other mechanisms of solving this problem. A good example, just quickly. There was a time when this country was about to go into tatters. When the people's president was about to sue himself, if the government of the day brought in guns, but your bet is as good as mine. There would have been bloodshed. But what happened? No police. There was not a single killing. So that was a mechanism. I think the government should look at it this way. For example, we have seen demonstrations. Supposing instead of blocking these people, supposing we talk them. We saw one time in Meru, an officer walking with the goods. Did they ban anything that day? No. What about this other day when now they started to block? So we should look at, the government should look at how to solve these problems.
All right.
Not only through the guy.
All right. In 1 minute.
I think, generally speaking, for me, I would urge the country to pivot back to Vision 2030 key pillars. Because we are talking about rapidly transforming the country and getting it as a middle income. And that means we should strengthen our political pillar and play clean politics, issue-based politics. Look at our social pillar, social transformation of the country, and look at the economic pillar. And I think if we pivot back and we recommit ourselves to those pillars, then we'll discover it right. And after Vision 2030, we can develop a Vision 2063. We cannot be in the mix of confusion and playing dirty politics forever and waste a lot of our time in conversation on issues that make no sense.
That is Mwalimu Honorable Wilson Sosion, former nominated MP and NATSEC Gen, and also David Alulu, who is a political analyst, Ireri Mwathi, who is a leadership and governance consultant, joining us on The Viewpoint right here on Good Morning Kenya. We end this conversation right here. Thank you for tuning in. Up next is Vivian Ndegwa with Women at the Forefront. My name is Mark Nugwe. Stay with us.